These are my thoughts, opinions, my commentary only, for entertainment purposes only. It's a little bit of a rant tonight. I'm kinda trying to get off of serious subjects. Not that the subject matter isn't really serious and affects us all. Like I am seeing a trend. I don't know if it's literally trending, but in my feed, the people that I follow, two people that I follow made videos that had similar sentiments in one day. And then it was so funny to me. I just kept running across like the same thing. And I wasn't going to go live tonight, but I decided that I just felt a certain way about this and wanted to go ahead and talk about it. I'm personally tired of monetarily wealthy people telling the rest of us to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. And not that the sentiment isn't ever true, but please just like hear me out. When those people are in careers that very few people could successfully do, and or they came up in economies the like of none of us will ever experience again, like sometimes twice over. Some of these people are like boomers and like they've experienced very successful economies and had multiple chances to build their monetary wealth up. And YouTube videos I saw today, like I've mentioned this man before, Ox Talks, and he has a smaller channel, like smaller in the big scheme of things. I think like it's great. He has 10,000, 12,000 ish subscribers. And I brought up how I like his talks about financial things mostly because he's very even keel. Not that you're not allowed to be emotional ever. Look at me. Like it was just a side of him I hadn't seen yet. And I think that like he's probably trying to show different sides of him, which is completely fine. I still think this man is a good man by like what he's shown. Like he just seems to be like a very good businessman, very family oriented. And he said this made this video today was saying most people, 60% of Americans don't have a savings account or their savings is $500 or less. What can you do with $500? Which made me laugh. I'm like, well, I can think of a lot of things I could do with $500, but I do totally get where he's coming from. But that is, an emergency room visit. That is a flat tire. That's a lot of things. That's getting your car towed to a mechanic. Things, a $500 emergency fund is better than nothing, right? But that the sentiment for a lot of people that are in this situation are they would just lean on their family. And I even said this the other night in my life, like I have leaned on my family, like just really honestly very little in the big scheme of things, but that's still not to discount that if we didn't have them when we needed them, like we would be up shit's creek just like a lot of people. And so like people need to check themselves and remind themselves of that. And like it isn't right. It isn't right that I've had to lean on my family when I did have to lean on them. And that is mainly because of all the things that we all encounter, mostly medical debt, medical costs in this country. Even if you are poor, monetarily poor enough to get Medicaid, you don't ever get dental, or correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure nobody gets dental care for free in this country, the US of A, unless they are seniors on Medicare. I never got it on Medicaid unless anyways. The whole point is, are children, unless you're under 18 or a senior, it's very difficult. And I've always been able to find good dentists. In my experience, the cheaper dentists tend to be very good and care and have a lot of experience. And that's kind of like, but like this one dentist I found that I really liked, they had old school x-rays. They didn't have digital x-rays. So you're exposing yourself to more radiation to get the cheaper cost, right? So it's a give and take. Hey, Tony, how are you doing? Hi, Javier. Hey, Mr. Carey. Oh, I'm so glad to see you guys. Shot to the T. You're in here early tonight. How are you? Oh, I'm so glad to see you guys. So I saw Ox Talks basically saying like most people don't have much of a savings account. And he didn't say shame on you, but that was kind of the gist of the video. And maybe I am taking this personally. I'll be the first to admit I have a chip on my shoulder about this subject. And I do feel like a lot of it is because we have worked so hard for a few decades now and don't have a lot to show for it. We are homeowners and I am proud of that. But like, okay, so I want to get into this. Like, I already talked about how healthcare costs so much. And the same people that are like, you should have assets to help you instead of, having no emergency fund. You're the same people that told us for years not to get a house because like us piddly peon people might not be able to afford the repairs. Seriously, I shouldn't put words in this man's mouth, but it's the same ilk of people that are like making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and looking at the rest of us and being like, oh, be careful. It's a scary thing becoming a homeowner. You never know what could happen. Be very careful because they want you to rent from them because that's how they make so much, if not all of their passive income. And it's just it's not fair. It's not right in my opinion. You could call me like a baby or whatever. Like I just don't think it's ethical, and it's part of like how we've got here. And I understand Blackstone, like corporate entities own so much real estate, and it's not just so much about like the small mom and pop people that but this is just a really interesting statistic to me. The average homeowner was born in 1958 and 2007. It's still the same statistic in the year 2024. The average homeowner's birth year was 1958. Like, how do you explain that besides like shit is stagnated? Why do these YouTubers like, and he's a smart man that deals in finances, and he made this video the other day. It did kind of rub me the wrong way where he's talking about before the 2008 financial crisis he was like always doing business with these people who were developers, the contractors building these homes, and they would brag about how they had just lines of people willing to overpay for these homes, and he's like talking about them like they're the bad guys. You were in the room with them. You were doing business with them. You were one of them that knowingly, oh my gosh, my dog, my poor dog. You were one of them that knowingly knew people were in over their heads and went ahead and made money off of it, and we're glad to. And then you turn around and tell us, like, shame on you if you don't have a bunch of extra money. I just kind of look down on that a little bit. And then another one, I bring him up a lot because I do watch his content a lot, and he is good about putting out a lot of content. Jack Morgan, he's called Jack Morgan RLP, I believe, short for Red Leather Podcast. He is a character. That's why he's a good YouTuber. He's a freaking character, man. And he does a good job talking about things going on right now. But he's always had this like pull him up by the bootstraps mentality, and he himself is a good example of it. I will give him that because it is true to a certain extent, right? But it was just interesting to me that like he made this video. It's like none of these guys, whenever they're talking about like why things are the way they are, they won't bring up wage stagnation. They won't bring up the insane inflation that's only taken place like in like wartime Germany. Oh my gosh, you guys, I thought it was like 40% of the money in circulation was printed in a few years. It was 80% of money. I'm gonna do a video on this article that I found 80% of money in circulation. And that is like a roundabout term. They're not like literally printing off this much money, but basically they're adding this much debt, therefore this much money to the circulation in our economy. And it is absolutely like that is insanity. How can things not be flipped upside down when you're 80% of the money in circulation, but we're the problem. We're the problem because we're not working hard enough, right? And I'm seeing these videos today. I'm like, this is just so crazy. Like, I don't want my kids to feel like they're not good enough if they're not making enough money when like you just like and it's the most important jobs. And like, yeah, I am saying it as somebody that works in a warehouse and factory when I do work, somebody that has a husband that works a blue collar job. Like, we need people to work these jobs. We can't all be millionaire podcasters. We can't all be real estate developers. We can't all be doctors and lawyers. We can't all be six-figure software developers. Like, we can't. We need people who keep the supply chain going. And like, this is part of the problem. This is part of how this fucked up system keeps running. Is the people looking down on us or like pointing the finger as like we're doing something wrong when and he was talking about multiple streams of income, which I do agree with him with. Like, I do agree we should all try to have multiple streams of income as much as possible, but it is simply like when I was working 40 hours and 4 days in a factory, I spent one day in bed after the 4 days of work working 40 hours and 4 days, and then the next 2 days I was just like also recovering still, and like I just didn't have the time to start another business, have multiple streams of income. And I have had a small at-home business before. It is a lot of fucking work to actually be profitable and to be everything, to be the marketing, the producer, the shipper, to be absolutely everything is a lot of fucking work. And a lot of us would rather just go clock in and out. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what America was literally founded upon, not founded upon, but that's what made it so great what for so long as it was that you could just work hard, have a good work ethic, and you could get ahead financially here in America. You could be a homeowner, you could send your kids to college, everything was going to be fine. Why do these people like, oh, you don't have any assets to fall back on when it's so fucking hard to become a homeowner, now harder than ever, especially thanks to rich people buying like dozens of fucking houses so they can rent them out and just sit back and make a ton of passive income. And like I know that's not the only reason why. It's mostly the money printing. The money printing. And like on top of that, like what other assets would we derive value from? The cars that are made to break down, like our cars are shittier than ever. Like they know these things. These men that are sitting up there on their high horses talking down to the rest of us, they know all of this. Like it drives me crazy. And I just have to like release. I'm not gonna sit here and like spin my wheels on it, but I appreciate even having the ability to like talk to you guys about it. And I'm trying to like stick to my notes before I like really get in. I'm halfway done. Ugh. Wages are stagnant. Inflation is at an all-time high, and that we've experienced the greatest transfer of wealth in our country in the last 5 years. Like, really think about like, this is insane. The amount of time, like, no wonder so many people are just, like, losing their shit. Like, when you really sit back and think about the things taking place in a decade, less than a decade, in 5 years. It's not about you not working harder. And I saw these things, I saw these videos and I'm like sitting there thinking about them. I'm cleaning the kitchen, I'm like thinking I'm not gonna go live tonight. I couldn't help it. I'm like, I just like saw this video where it was a shorts where a woman was saying her 16-hour workday making $120,000 a year. Bless her heart. She worked from home and she did work, she worked 16 hours that day. And I read this comment and this person said, "Yeah, my grandpa wanted to retire early too, and he worked 3 jobs, and he did retire early because he had a major stroke in his 40s, and he spent 10 years learning how to walk and talk again." And I was like, "See, it's like this dichotomy. Like there are conflicting messages, and like when people in Gen Z, when like people throw their hands up and like decide not to work because it's like they just feel hopeless, like they can't get ahead. Like I don't blame them for that. I'm kind of like glad and happy for the people that do have support that don't have to work. Um that do have a nice family home to reside in, like, it's just, like, the more of us that can like, that's how I feel about it. I want my sons to feel productive and fulfilled. I don't want them sitting around at home forever. I don't mean it like that, but it's, like, when people don't have to work a full-time job to survive, that's what I want them to focus on, like, developing their talents and skills, and I do tell them, like, your 20s and 30s, you should, like, focus on your career and making money. Absolutely, like, we have to do that. I don't mean at all, like, it's not but, like, at the same time, part of that is not renting. In my opinion, sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes it's simply unavoidable. But I will do everything I can in my power to prevent my sons from giving people like way too much money, in my opinion, to just live in a dwelling. And that might be like van life for a few years or something. For a single person, it's a lot more feasible. And okay, then, I saw this Diary of a CEO. I like that podcast. They did a post talking about how Matthew McConaughey was on recently, and I'm just like, my wheels are spinning about all these, like, thinking about how people and some of these people, like, they have worked. It's like this weird cognitive dissonance happens once somebody becomes successful, and I don't know, I could be wrong, but it's almost like it's a coping mechanism for them. Like, they can't stand the fact that, like, money is just and for them, and, like, a lot of us work 40 hours a week and make, like, $700 at the end of the week, and, like, that is shitty as fuck, and, like, instead of, like not that they're supposed to do anything about that, but, like, instead of even acknowledging it, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, if you just worked harder like me," and it's like, "I'm sorry, but we do work harder than you, and we make less money than you." That's the whole fucking point, and then, like, we are, like, so classist, and there's so much of that, like, keeping up with the Joneses. People don't wanna admit that or, like, talk about, like and I really I don't say this I feel like I'm trying to say it as a flex. I don't know why. I'm not I don't feel like I'm neurologically typical. I have not been formally diagnosed with anything, but I don't care. I don't have shame in that way. I do have shame, a healthy shame in certain ways, I feel like. But when it comes to struggling financially, I know with all my heart, me and my husband have always tried our hardest. My husband does have a bachelor's degree. We all know how that goes here. Not everything you get a bachelor's degree in is going to be monetarily fruitful. And I'm sorry, I'm losing my words. And there's so many things that I would like to go to college for. I would like to go to college for horticulture, but there's no way I'm going to get into tens of thousands of dollars of debt to make like $36,000 a year. Spraying pesticides, probably. It's unfortunate, but like there's so many more things to point the finger at than the people who are like victims to so much oppression, to the student loans, to the expense of colleges and higher education diplomas just getting more expensive. And like, so once you do a lot of these people that are making good money, they're going to be in debt for the rest of their life. because of student loans, and I don't think that's right. I think if you're contributing to society, there should be like a cutoff of like how you pay back your student loans. It's it's just only going to make for more nepotism, which like some people are, of course, are going to be smart and good enough. But like when you want to talk about DEI, oh my gosh, they made a cap of student loans like for medical degrees at 150,000. I can't even imagine getting more than 100,000 into school loan debt, but like I'm all about like having as little debt as possible. But like if I can, there are people out there that are willing to take that on, that are willing to do that career to like help other people to be a part of our medical care. And like I just think it's so wrong what they do to people. So this is only going to cause more people who are poor, lower class, not able to get the higher earning medical degrees. Maybe some of those people are the smartest, most talented, the people that should be getting them. And it's just a scary world for us all when it just boils down to how much money you have. Like so the Diary of a CEO post talking about Matthew McConaughey, it was like, these are the subjects we're going to talk about, kind of like this bullet point list of things. And one of the things it said was comfort was a disease. Comfort, how comfort is the disease. That's when I was like, bang, I'm going to go live today. I need to bitch about this. I am so sick of people with the pull them up by the bootstraps mentality. And yes, it is true sometimes. Like I have to say that there is a lot of truth to it at times, but at the same time, you don't wanna, like, stroke out in your 40s because of the whole hustle culture that was, like, ingrained in you that, like, all you have to do is work more, and Jack Morgan would say this a lot, and I agree to a certain extent, but some of us have, like, extenuating circumstances, and it's not all about just, like, working more, or if you did, it's, like, literally quite unhealthy. You should be able to work full time. I don't wanna come off as one of those people that doesn't think people should work. I do not wanna come off as that at all. But you should be able to work full time and pay your bills, right? And unless like things are absolutely ridiculous. But, like, Jack Morgan was talking about like showing like this food pantry line, and there was like a bunch of new cars in the line for it. Like, I do get pointing stuff like that out. I like a lot of his work on YouTube. Of course, it's human nature. I'm going to talk about the stuff that I don't like, but like the reason why I keep coming back for more, and I even have stuff to talk about because I'm watching his content, is because he does do a good job, or whoever is helping him with it does a good job curating content. And, the subject matter is always interesting. And for a year or two now, a lot of it has revolved around like the job market. Sometimes it's like things about men and women. Don't get me, he made a video the other day called women dot 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 LOL. And within the first like minute or two, he's like shitting on a woman talking about how she wants to live off a man. And like, this is the same man that was like, if you're not living off a man as a woman, you're just dumb. Like he didn't literally say that, but he might as well have. But anyways, this whole like not acknowledging the wage stagnation, the inflation, that 80% of money in circulation in the US was printed in a handful of years at the beginning of this decade. Like that, well, like we are all in for like it's I think maybe these people know like they care enough and they know enough that they're like shit is going to get really bad, so in order to cope with this I'm going to tell people they just need to work harder, when it's like no, you're like so far removed from what it's like to make like 700, 800, $1,000 a week. And I know some people make less than that. Some people are making $350 a week working full time. Like that is insane. That's inhumane. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're standing around folding clothes at Goodwill, making $10, $12 an hour, something that should happen. There are policemen in the state of Kentucky that make $15 an hour. $15 an hour. Like that. Like these are the things we need to all get like riled up about. And if you have more lenient time, like somebody with more of a disposable income and stuff, it's just like I don't want to come off as so hateful because I'm starting to feel hateful, honest, or like feel like that. And I don't mean to come off as that because like I keep saying Ox Talks, he does great videos, and I do recommend anybody that's interested in like he just has great subject matter. And it was interesting for him to bring up the subject that 60% of people in our country in the US don't have a savings, or what savings they do have is so minimal. Like $500 is that isn't a lot of money today. Like it and instead of being like you need to work harder, why aren't you working harder? We could emphasize, especially when people were saying that people need to be careful about buying homes. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's people like him. I hate to put words in his mouth, but I swear it's people exactly like him that were like, oh, beware the average blue collar worker, beware about being a homeowner. It's just one big repair. and you could lose your home. Oh, I got a super chat. I need to acknowledge you. I'm doing really well tonight, Ghost Wolf Primal. How are you doing? And thank you for the super chat. Um, so I do have a coffee, buy me a coffee. Anybody that's interested, YouTube does take more than if you donated to me a coffee. It's in the description of my channel. Mr. Carey, have you posted that link? And do you mind posting that link like you did last night? That would really help. Thank you, Mr. Carey. And nobody, please don't feel obligated. Like, if you want to donate to somebody because you like to donate to people that you watch on YouTube, like, feel free. But I don't want anybody to ever feel obligated at all. But it will help me get to a point where faster, sooner, where I can screen share with y'all. And I think that would be great. But yeah, so I'm not finishing. This is the last part of my notes. In the diary of L, where they're like, "Oh, comfort is a disease," says somebody with one of the most comfortable lives like ever known in human existence, literally quite ever. Like I'm just so tired of these people, and I do get it. I appreciate people like Jim Carrey that was like one quote of his is like, "I wish people could be rich and famous, and then they would understand that there's more to life than being rich and famous." I can totally get down with like that kind of sentiment that there's more to life than money or whatever. But like it's like people are suffering. This is like the Great Depression, if not worse. Like things are bad. And these people looking down, they want to look at it as like, oh, people just don't want to work anymore. There's a reason why people don't want to work anymore. They have nothing to work for. Everything costs too much. You can't just get a job and start out like you used to be able to and be okay. You can buy an apartment, rent an apartment, have a car, have money to hang out with your friends and socialize on the weekends, and have enough money to eat. It's so much more difficult. And if you can do that, like I'm sincerely happy for this for you. I don't mean like good for you is in a sarcastic kind of way. Good for you. I hopefully you're saving money too. I hope that you like if you're not saving, you're living exactly where you want. I've seen apartment tours a lot, and like every once in a while you just see these people that are just like so radiant and like their home is so freaking cozy and great, and it's like I love that for single people, like renting isn't always, but I say a lot what I do about home ownership because, like I said, we would have been homeowners sooner if people weren't talking in our ears like that. And my husband will give me credit, is like he got his father's inheritance. I pushed to buy a small home then. We didn't have tons of money, but we could have used it as a down payment. And he paid off student loans, which was fine. That was great. That was smart. A man in his 20s. I will always give him credit for that. Choices like that made me like, no, this is like a good man, a good person to spend my life with. But like he does give me credit that like you were right about like we could have and we should have bought a home then. But it was like his mom, who's in real estate, telling us like the same shit. I hear so many wealthy people with the same messaging. Buyer beware. You might not know what you're getting into when you buy a house. You might be in over your head. Oh god, you just don't make enough money. You have to make a lot of money to own a house. Meanwhile, it costs more money to rent. Oh my gosh. The biggest home repair we've ever had to make was a new roof, and the homeowner's insurance paid for it. And our premium went up a little bit, but like I'm just saying, like, yeah, when it is a big necessary repair, sometimes your insurance company pays for it. Why don't these people talk about how like most of the time mortgage companies won't lend you money unless you're buying a house outright. Mortgage companies won't approve a house that's like falling apart in a piece of shit. And like they don't talk about that. They don't tell you like, oh well, yeah, like you get a home inspection and like try to do your piece, but like yeah, you should be fine unless you get in a horrible situation right off the bat. Ghost Wolf, thank you again. You're so nice. There is a crisis of comfort in America, but it is the distractions we choose to keep in our lives, our phones or the beer we drink, sometimes too much. It's the distractions we choose to have. That's a very good point, Ghost Wolf, and thank you for bringing it up. Very good point. And like that could be where they're coming from because this was just text and it's hard to discern what people are exactly saying. And it was a bullet point list. So thank you for saying that. And it's true. And I think a lot of it is comfort because people are, it's cognitive dissonance. Like people know shit is bad. And like it really is just ingrained in us. We're spoiled first world people, period. Like people don't realize how blessed they are to just have hot water on demand here in this country. It's something a lot of people don't have. And yeah, I think a lot of people are distracting themselves and are addicted to a dopamine rush that is created with those things because they're in survival mode because you have to work so hard and then your paycheck comes and it's gone because you have to pay it all for necessities, right? And Ox Talks made a video recently talking about how the top 10% of earners are keeping the economy afloat. Basically, they're the only people spending like extra money on anything, which makes sense. Like, when was the last time you spent extra money? I know, like, we don't spend extra money on anything, like, ever. I'm gonna try to read more comments here. Behind every great man is a great woman. Your husband is lucky, Grandpa said. Oh, thank you, Grandpa. And I'm not definitely not perfect. Nobody's perfect though. I complained about him on here once and I regret that. But Classy McGee, Trump hasn't said, let alone do anything for the American people in the past 10 years. Classy Mickey, used to like Trump more, and I like him a lot less as of late, especially when he started pushing the novel medicine for COVID. Hey, Zeus, how are you doing tonight? I'm in the same shoes. I've been eating hard-boiled eggs to keep my head above water. Thank you, Mr. Carey. I appreciate you posting that. Logan literally just bought a $500,000 home at 22, didn't graduate, went back and got my GED, all about the career you choose and keeping your credit good. Do you mind if I ask what your career is, Logan? And good for you. I'm so glad to hear of young people, especially that young, doing well. Like, seriously, good for you. I'm gonna assume you're in a trade. Maybe I'm wrong. And because usually it takes a few more years to build your way up in a trade. Um, Stop spending on stupid things like subscription services. Yes, people need to live below their means no matter what. And we would have been better off if we did that. Instead of buying a home when we could have, we rented a luxury apartment that had granite countertops. And like looking back on that, and we were there for like 2 or 3 years. Like all the money we spent on that would have been like the down payment for a home, and that's like what you do when you're young and you don't really see the the big picture, and that's one reason I push because I know what it's like to be young and you just want, like, your dream home, or you just want, as good as you can get in that moment, but we need to encourage people, like, sometimes your best option is, like, a dumpy house. If it has good bones and if you have the ability to fix it up, like, you'll be so much better off, and then, you can, like, upgrade and, like, keep getting. I've known people that, like, they got nicer houses, like, every 10 years, like, that's how people used to be able to do it. I know it's a lot harder now. Jeez Louise. Oh, Yoder, you feel unwell. I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better tomorrow. I hope you get some good rest if you're still in here. I'm so sorry. I'm from Kentucky, if you're asking me, Arellano. We have because we work for it, Barry Fondant said. Hi, Barry. How are you? Death God, the working class should unite. I agree with that, Death God. People work so hard, and like I bring up the supply chain a lot, and I know there's a lot more blue collar workers than that. I mean, like construction workers and loggers have the highest fatality rates. Like, oh my, like, could you imagine if if any other profession had such high fatality rates? Like, you'd hear about it a lot. Um, it just, it's like the stoic kind of man that and that's where a lot of people are coming from, and they say, like, men built society. People aren't appreciative of all the hard work that men do. Yeah, I agree. I bet a lot of people aren't, but a lot of people are. A lot of us, we had grandpas that built houses. We had grandpas that, flew planes, what have you. And a lot of us, I don't know what exactly are we supposed to do about it, you know what I mean? I don't know exactly what they want as a result of that. But, so yeah, I just really wanted to express the pyramid. How are you doing tonight? We owned a house, lost it after the wife's stroke. Right, okay, so that's another thing that should not happen in our country. I'm so sorry to hear that. People having major life events, major medical life events, especially like that can result the loss of one's greatest asset. I would never make a YouTube video that's like, why don't we have more savings? Because I know what it's like. I've had so many like dental emergencies. I guess getting your wisdom teeth out isn't an emergency, but we paid out of pocket for that. I didn't get put to sleep, and I'm not boo-hooing about it. I'm glad I didn't have the anesthesia in my body to put me to sleep because it wasn't a big deal and it was fine. But like things like that, like, not being able to get knocked all the way out for medical procedures. That did happen removing a precancerous mass from what is one of the most sensitive parts of my body. That did suck not having any anesthesia for that. But I opted for that once again because of the money. And so yeah, I had to have a sinus repair. I had to have my wisdom teeth removed. I had to have a sinus repair. It was like every few years there was like a procedure that cost like $3,000 to $5,000 that we had to pay out of pocket for, few or several $1,000s. Like it's I'm explaining that for people that might not know how it works. I even didn't understand how it worked till a few years ago, honestly. Like, geez Louise, it's like so like it's just like our tax system. It's like they make things difficult on purpose. And so yeah, Tony said, I hope you feel better, Yoder. And Mr. Carey said, Anna just sent a prayer your way. That's so nice. Miss Majoiner's Wrath. Yeah, but that's the thing. Everybody that considers internet and TV and subscription services, etc., as necessities is completely jaded in their perspectives there. True. A lot of them probably are. Brian groceries and I buy the cheap ones, still struggle to survive. I hear you, Brian. No, I totally hear you. And I do Instacart here and there. I don't do it like full time at all, but I'll do it every once in a while. And it's just really interesting to me. I took one order this week and it was because the person tipped $23. And I was so appreciative of that. And I just noticed they got like there's nothing wrong with this. I'm not talking about it was like bologna, bacon, not the most expensive bacon. And it was just like it was so nice to me that they were getting like this cheaper food and they went out of their way to hardly anybody tips Instacart shoppers like that. And I get it, like people don't have the money, but I've just noticed I've been doing Instacart for 3 years now, and like I've noticed a difference in people's groceries. And man, when there's a sale on soda, there's like so many people ordering so much soda. We're all still addicted to our sody. And oh, it's so sad to me. And I get it. I have my addictions too. Barry said men don't need women to be great. Um, what do you mean by that, Barry? I think we both need each other to be great, but I'm sorry, I don't understand the context. Josh Matthews, it's sick. It really is. People are riding around in Cadillacs with portfolios while other people are starving. Yes. Oh, it is escaping me now. There was this documentary. It was like a Netflix, kind of documentary, where it's like this French sculpturist. Now I feel so bad. Zeitgeist, is that what it was? He was basically talking about like what the ideal society would be, and a lot of people would call this socialism, but it was just like so many of the ideas brought up in it were so lovely, and it just like basically boiled down to being a lot more community minded. And like maybe every if people lived on streets where like there was one community shed and like we shared a lot of tools and like we could share more, and that would be so much better for the environment. And it's like I would love to start like a little community, but I know I never will because so many people suck so bad. It's unfortunate. But if I ever, and this is what I tell God in the universe, oh my gosh, if I ever did hit it big on YouTube, like I mean it with all my heart, watch me, watch it. Like, and it hit it big. I mean, like make consistently like 10,000 plus a month. I would love to develop small properties because why aren't more people doing that? It wouldn't be hard to buy an acre or two or three and put a single wide on it, put a septic. I would love to actually give people like storm shelters, with all these tornadoes around here, especially like that. Really, if it's not a brand new single wide because the brand new ones are overpriced, in my opinion. And like, especially if it's one you rehabbed yourself, like, oh my goodness. And like, start like, I know there are foundations that give people homes, don't get me wrong, but I mean like somebody that like has a heart, that has the funds to do it, that can develop it and then sell it and make maybe a little bit of a profit. Because that's what people say, builders can only build the really big houses because that's the only way they profit. I'm like, sorry, I don't understand that because we half-ass finished out a shed conversion and profited off of it. So why can't a builder profit off of like a 1,300 square foot starter home? Hazy is death god, that would be socialism. People look down on that, makes me sad. Yes, and I agree. And I understand why people look down on socialism, because it has failed every time it's been attempted, but maybe when it was attempted, it wasn't attempted correctly. That's how I look at it. Art inside. How about having a boxing match with Jake Paul worth like $20 million? Yeah, maybe he'd fix my face. Very possibly, but not be happy, Grandpa said. Hi, Mudasir. How are you? Death God said, Jesus, bro, I don't think socialism as Soviets implement we can take from ideologies. Right, right. And It's definitely like late stage capitalism for anybody that's like totally railing against anything else. It's like whatever we're going through, whatever cycle we're a part of right now is clearly dying and on its way out. And like everything does, right? Like nothing lasts forever. So, um, Mr. Carey, thank you. Lady, know the laws of manifestation and you can upgrade. It's a myth that has to be this hard. People just believe it, and so it is for them. You have to check your core beliefs. Lady 66. So I totally am on the same page with you about like the law of attraction. And I really do feel like honestly, we are those kind of people. Like I might rant to you guys and I appreciate you listening, but like overall, I walk through life very grateful. I'm constantly thanking God. Like I was talking about the hot water, like whenever I take a hot shower, I'm like, thank you for this. Thank you for the ability to be able to like just go turn a handle and take a hot shower and get clean. And we needed money this week and we got a refund for some medical bills of mine for my surgery this year. Like it's stuff like that happens often with us. And I almost feel bad saying that because I know so many people are struggling, but I'm also very transparent about how like we live paycheck to paycheck. And yeah, a lot of it is medical issues. We didn't plan on home educating our children, but we fell into that because our children needed the one-on-one. And I am so grateful for that. I am so grateful that I got to stay at home and do that. I'm not complaining, but yeah, did it set us back financially? Absolutely. We had one vehicle for most of our marriage. We have two vehicles now, but that's like a new thing. For most of our 15-year marriage, for seriously like 10, 12 years of our 15-year marriage, we only had one vehicle. And that's one way that we made it work. And it did impede us from a lot. My kids missed out on some activities because of the fact that we only had one vehicle. I had to like take my husband to work or pick him up, at like 4 a.m. In order to take my kid to an activity because we had one vehicle. It's like the sacrifices you have to make, but it is for the best. And I don't think everybody should or can homeschool. So one disclaimer, I don't think everybody should do that. But so many people are turned off by it because of a lower income, and that to me is so sad. That really is so sad. I think I did an okay job. And my two older kids are in public school now and they're doing great. There's a carpenter I can identify on that I have been skills the wood twice electrocuted, multiple times chemically burned as a carpenter. Oh, M. Joiner's wrath. I hope that you don't have any permanent damage from any of those injuries. And yes, so many men have broken their bodies down. Like I come from a place in Indiana and in Louisville. I was born in Louisville, so I am from Kentucky, but like I grew up a lot of my childhood in Southern Indiana. I spent a lot of my childhood. And every single person, besides one friend whose dad was a lawyer, every single person, their dad had a bad back. Like every single middle-aged man I met in my childhood had a bad back from like busting their ass in factories and stuff. And it's or doing stuff like building houses, carpentry, and what have you. Yeah, we the working class should unite. We're the ones that hold the system together. I totally agree with that sentiment. So what can we do? Because thank you. I am a married woman of 15 years, just so people know. Um, Pyramid, I'd rather rent. No way I could keep up with home repair and still care for her. Well, that's a good point, Pyramid. And thank you for giving me that perspective because often I'm like, oh, it's always better to be a homeowner. But in certain situations, it's not, right? Josh Matthews, I don't see any wolves chasing you across the parking lot. I don't see any Indians coming out on horseback. I don't see any other nation invading you. But if any of that shit happens, you'll suddenly need me, right? Josh, I don't know exactly where you're coming from with that. I don't know exactly what I do respect men and what men do. I'm married to a man and I have 3 sons. So if you're trying to say that like I'm one of these women that's like we don't need men, you're mistaken. But I don't know how else to take that comment either. I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand it. Josh is a historian. I don't know. You're joking. Mother is a name for God on the lips and hearts of all children. Oh, Grandpa, that's such a sweet movie quote. Yeah. So oh, I'm way far up in the chat, you guys. I'm so sorry. I'm going to start here. Fendi, how are you doing tonight? But that means that the billionaires wouldn't be able to get their yachts if we didn't have capitalism. Boo-hoo. Right. And I'm not just saying this. Maybe it is coping. Maybe it is, but like I do feel it genuinely in my heart. Like I'm glad I didn't marry a millionaire. I'm glad that I am. who I am and have lived the life that I lived, and it's made me a stronger, harder working person. I know more now. In my opinion, I could be wrong. I know there's smart, wealthy people that like I don't mean it like all people with money are dumb. I know myself, and if I wasn't challenged in the ways that I was and everything, like I don't think I'd be like almost a master gardener. I don't know. I might be technically a master gardener now. I don't know. I know a lot about gardening. I don't think that I would have worked as hard as I worked with things like gardening if I like married a millionaire. I would have like hired somebody to do half of it. And like, I know that's probably a wishy-washy way for some people thinking of things. But another thing is, I always knew, and I just always knew, like a man with that much monetary wealth is so much more likely to cheat on you. A man with that much wealth is so much more likely to have so many more options. Women are always going to be throwing themselves at them. And I like to think we could win the lottery tomorrow and women could start throwing themselves at my husband and he'd be like, no. And then it's like a lot of that has to do with the bond we've had 20 years being together. And like, that is just like a fact of life. Of course, there's some men with money that are monogamous and loyal, and they're never going to cheat, no matter how much money they have and how many women throw themselves at them. But it's just like something, people online say like they encourage women to to be hypergamous and go after men with money and to be okay with them cheating. Like that's just a part of it. It's just part of it. And it is a lot of the time because they just genuinely have more options. And it's, like that song, M Mo Money Mo I can't say Mo. It's like it's so true. Of course, we all need it to survive, and I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, you just tell yourself that." I wish we were debt-free. I would feel like a rich woman if we were debt-free, and I think that that should be the goal for people, and it is easier to be debt-free than one might think if that is like your goal from the get-go. And like we need to encourage our young people, alternative forms of housing. Like, no, you're not going to be able to buy the same starter house that we couldn't afford to buy the house we bought 10 years ago. The first house we ever bought, we couldn't buy it now. How do you explain that? That's not right. That is hyperinflation. That is wage stagnation. That is the greatest transfer of wealth in our known history, like taking place right in front of our eyes. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm just so sick of people pointing the finger at the people who work. If we didn't work the way that we did, you wouldn't have anything on the shelves at your stores, You wouldn't have packages delivered to your door. You wouldn't have food when you go out to eat at a restaurant. Like this is so lost upon these people. We need people to work those jobs too, right? Like, no, it's not all being taken over by AI. At least really soon. Some of it is. And Sabine, I can't pronounce her last name. She's a scientist I follow here on YouTube. Sabine Hassenpfaff, something like that. She had this video a few days ago that was really interesting. Some big study came out where they're like, actually, AI isn't as great as we chalked it up to be. It's not that smart. It's actually not that great. And it's not going to take over that much anytime soon. I thought that was super interesting. It's like they're trying to like psych us out about that. I am from Kentucky if you're asking me. Oh, hey, Jake Burnett. They did. She is a keeper. Who are we talking about? I did not get divorced. We are going through stuff, but we're not divorced. So no, Jake, we're not planning on getting divorced as of now. Greg, capitalism is great for people that are competent and can compete. Can definitely see why the losers wouldn't be very keen on it, though. Craig, I do understand where you're coming from. The like equal opportunities like that we used to have through our free market capitalism system. But this is what I always say, like we lost free market capitalism 5 years ago when our government told the small mom and pop shops that they couldn't stay open for business while they let Walmart, big, huge, too big to fail corporations stay open. And it's so things like that. It's like, yeah, I am all about actual free market capitalism, but it's like we're not there where we used to be. Like there are monopolies. We weren't supposed to have monopolies on things. It's like that's all there is anymore. Jesus, during World War II, we actually combined central planning and socialism. That's why after the war, the economy thrived. Pay working people a living wage, and you'll see people thrive. Those are very good points I have heard before, Jesus. Thank you for reminding me. Kansas, you're writing right now, silly. I am married 26 years in March 2026. That's so sweet. That's awesome. 26 years in the year 2026. No, I am not. I did take some kratom before I got on here, if my pupils look really small, but I didn't take enough to be like all drugged up. Mm, Mr. Carey, congrats. What's your secret? Heath said. Yeah, Mr. Carey, if you could give advice to men and women, but I'm interested from a man as yourself. What would you give as far as having a successful marriage, especially because for people like me that are going through shit? Oh my gosh, I am so bad about keeping up with the chat. Fendi, I'm curious. You ever heard of that dudes who be with a woman who's with them for a year and then they divorce, get rid of them once they level up? Oh yeah, that's also something that's common. It's like and like, I'm a little too transparent, I know. I've said the same thing to my husband. I'm like, "I don't know if I'm your dream girl." Like, I feel like I'm not the girl that, like, you would be, like, ultimately the happiest with. And, I'm trying to, like, explain things, and I am neurotic. Like, I know I might seem more laid back on here. I can have my moments. I can absolutely be, like, super anxiously attached, and that's the thing that I've been working on our whole marriage. But, absolutely, I think that's a phenomenon that happens that men tend to settle. It's like they just had their green light on one day. It's, like, so common that, like, a man does not wanna settle down. He's, like, with a woman for 10 years, and then they break up because she wants to get married, and then, like, a year he's marrying somebody else. It's just, like, the right time more than the right person for a lot of men, not all men. And I think a lot of that has to do with the socialization, how they are. They'll be like, "Oh, this is a good one. I picked a good one. She checks off the boxes," and women do this too. Women totally do this too. But, like, they're more emotional, and they're more about, like, not that they don't marry men they're not in love with, but, unless he has a bunch of money, they're probably not. And I think that men just are a little more disconnected with their emotions. And once again, it's the way they're socialized. It's not like all their fault. We need to quit, like, telling little boys it's not okay to be emotional. It's easy to be debt free if you don't have anything, Rusty Starfish said. There's well, I get what you're saying, but, the ideal life would be to own a car or 2, or 3 or 4 outright, right? To own your house outright and pay property taxes. Property taxes here, like, less than $600 a year. Property taxes under 23 acres were, like, $600. It's really not that expensive to pay property taxes in a lot of places. I understand they're, like, skyrocketing. I'm pretty confident that they're not gonna skyrocket here because literally nobody would ever pay that. The same reason our utilities haven't skyrocketed here because it's one of the poorest areas of the country, and that's actually a good thing. Um, it has its benefits. That's one of them. Like, we haven't had a utility bill over $200. Apparently, there's people that are paying, like, over $1,000 for their AC the last few months. My ninth great grandparents came from Germany, and I don't know German, Mr. Carey said. Oh, we're speaking German. You learn the value and worth of many more things struggling to success, in my opinion, Tony said. Exactly. And that's something that there's this one lady I talk about a lot, the Happy Wife School lady. She, like, is one of those life coach people, and she says this often. And she herself, she's talking about herself as well. She grew up, not struggling in many ways. And it's the people that grow up not struggling with, like, a silver spoon in their mouth. Speaking of not struggling in that way, like, they struggle the most when they're adults out in the world in relationships. Jocelyn, imagine defending capitalism while living is not even affordable. Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, Jocelyn. Totally understand. I think a lot of people are holding on to something, like holding on to what was once the American dream. Josh Matthews, the problem with these big corporations is they get a massive tax breaks. Walmart only pays 64% of the tax rate that a mom and pop place would pay in the same area equals collapsing infrastructure. Very good point, Josh. Thank you for adding some nuances to the conversation. Greg, we have more humanity than ever, a surplus of it, in fact. I don't know. There was this theory, I forget, it's like the Adam's tree, something about Adam. Basically, like there's a finite amount of souls. And so as the population grows, not everybody has a soul. And that is one reason why things are so bad. And there seems to be more corruption and immorality. I always thought that was a super interesting theory. I'm not necessarily saying I agree with it. Get in debt for capital, but you can use. Stagnant capital is the line, but you must break even with that line. Trapolium said that is good advice. Like there is a time and a place for everything, right? There's always exceptions and never speak in absolutes, except for saying never speak in absolutes. But I totally agree with you on that. And that's one thing Charlie Kirk said. He's like, the only debt a man should have is mortgage. And his sweet wife was like, well, what if they come from nothing and they like had to get a college degree and take out loans? But Mr. Carey, oh, thank you, Mr. Carey. No, it is not monthly. I didn't enable the monthly memberships because I'm not even doing enough for my memberships here on YouTube. They do have that option on that site, but I don't have them enabled. That's just in case you want to donate because YouTube takes a certain amount and then some people don't want to like give money to YouTube or have to YouTube. Oh, Jake, I'm sorry you have to go. Yeah, I don't think I made it. I hope the memberships aren't enabled up there because I don't want anybody to sign up for memberships on there. Hey, Zeus, honestly, most men just want women because it's exhausting chasing a woman, also expensive. That's another reason why it's good to settle down young if you can. And I know that's really easy to just say that, like settle down young. Especially me as a woman, like it's a lot easier to get a date as a woman. I totally get that. But it is something that so many people push on people, like push people away from that. Like it's so bad to like even think about getting married in your 20s. And I think a lot of people need to get over that. And it would serve women especially, it really would. It's hard to talk about because I do understand all of the nuances, but I also know there's a lot of women out there that like sincerely want to be mothers. They're not settling down soon enough, and it's just yeah. I think a lot of women are expecting too much. Their expectations are too high. Basically, long story short, everything I said last night was true. Like we have a lot on our plate. Women saw their moms or even were the parentified child themselves taking care of their siblings, and they're like tired of being the caretaker for everybody in the house and working a full-time job. And it would be like being on vacation compared to like just working the full-time job and not taking care of other people comparatively. Started in the middle, now I'm here, Craig said. Tommy, men are not disconnected with our emotions. We are taught to protect our emotions. Yes, I'm sorry if I offended anybody saying disconnected, but that is a good way. I'm gonna try to remember that, Tommy. That's a good way to say it. That's why I was saying you're socialized to like not show them and for it to be, like women are almost like encouraged to, except, of course, we're taught to sit down and shut up a lot as well, but we're still like not told it's not okay to cry. Exactly, D. We don't let people know how we feel because they can use that as leverage against us, Josh said. Yeah, and I used to not believe it, but like that's part of like the internet and people watching. Like once you hear the same thing so many times, you can't deny it anymore, unless you're just like not an honest person. But like I used to think men that were like, oh, like women would use things against me. Like every time I ever cried in front of a woman about something, she'd always make fun of me or use it against me later. And I'm like, no, no, that doesn't happen. And then after hearing it a lot, I'm like, okay, that has to be like a legitimate thing that happens to too many men. And if men did that to women, it would be abusive. And it's like it's so easy to call things abusive when a man is doing it, even like the emotional, psychological things. And women need to admit to being abusive like that. To seek to know something is to seek its death. Remember Jesus, to seek to know something is to seek its death. Truly, I say to you, seek wisdom for knowledge is death, Tertullian said. Oh, thank you for that. I am trying to be better about reading the Bible and like 50 pages into it. I'm so bad about doing it more regularly. Those poor kids are gonna grow up all messed up now. I hope they don't end up becoming shooters. SHOOTERs themselves now, poetic as that would be. Are you talking about, Charlie Kirks? I love you too, whoever you are, I don't know your name. But anybody watching, Kentucky Living, hey, how are you? Are you like the magazine? Isn't there a Kentucky Living magazine? Hi from Brazil. Oh, hey, Ronaldo, how are you? Woman overanalyzes everything. Threshold moment. Women do overanalyze quite often. And that's what I've said a lot that like me and my husband balance each other out. And I think, like I'll cause him to think more about stuff. Maybe he should. And he also is like the calmer force that helps reel me in. And I'm like, okay, like I shouldn't worry about this. Like for instance, a medical procedure a kid has to have. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just had to sign this medical consent form and the study might die. And I was like, "Ah." And my husband was like, he's not going to die, Lydia. Everything's fine. And and that's another thing. Like when you have that bond, that's just like we are like so like we can be, especially as a mom, like that that mama bear energy, and it's like it's ideally you're with a partner that can tell you to calm down. Like my husband is the only person that could tell me to calm down and I would actually take it seriously. You know, like when he says it, I'm like, maybe I should. Even when I am like all amped up, I'm like, oh, maybe I should, man. Tommy, it's not a man's fault that you have to work and raise a kid. The world is so expensive now that we know now need two to work. No, I understand that, Tommy, but what is going on, and this has been studied, and not all the time either, because my husband doesn't do this to me. So I want to stress that, like, not all men, but more often than not, women do way more of the domestic labor when both people work, and that's where the disconnect is coming from, in my opinion. And there's like this poll that's going around where men and women are listing the top 10 things that are important to them in life, and the number one thing for men is having kids, and that's like number 10 for women. It's great. That was pretty wild to me. Honestly, it was concerning to me. Like I do feel for I don't want to be like the only thing there is to life is having kids and procreating, and like you're not real man or woman if you don't do that. I don't want to come off as that at all. But at the same time, like it just makes me genuinely sad, the thought of so many people in this younger generation genuinely not wanting to be parents, especially women. Uh, Something strikes me about that. I don't like it. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down to threshold. No one is saying no, no, no is not an argument. And the fact is that anybody that reacts that way is an obvious Democrat. He was saying no, no, no. I hope I explained that well, Tommy. And this has been like studied a lot, or like, whatever those studies, for whatever those studies are worth to you. And in my opinion, I have seen it a lot, but I think the tide started to really change with our generation. I'm 38 years old. I know plenty of women that are in the same boat as me, that even stay at home moms, that, the husband's on his way home from work. He's like, is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can get from the store? Like completely competent, capable, active parents in their children's lives. Like I've known many men like that. I can honestly say most of them are like in their 30s. There are a ton of them that were like, it's just the way that, once again, it's the way they were socialized. It's just the way things were. But not to say that not, I'm sure there are men in older generations that were. Yeah, I ripped it off. I share vids from my life here. Oh, that's cool, Kentucky living. I'm gonna try to like look you up. Sometimes I have success looking up channels. I like to encourage people who do have small channels to like let us know. Anybody that wants to support Kentucky living, go subscribe to them. Tim, how are you doing? Tim, I was wondering about you. I'm so glad to see you here. I was depressed the last time I was here, and I'm still depressed now. I'm sorry to hear that you're still depressed, but I'm glad you're still here, Tim. Genuinely, I was worried about you when you hadn't been here for a while. Tommy, people need to realize the crazy things that happen in the world has always happened. The only difference is it's online now and everyone's saying it. I totally understand where you're coming from, and you are right to a certain extent. But I just feel like a lot of things, like the marriage rate used to always fluctuate up and down every few years. Like for the 100 years, we were keeping track of it. But ever since 1999, it's like steadily just like declined for the most part. A few little bumps up here and there, like VID. But like that and the birth rate, it's between men and women. And yeah, I've been married for 15 years myself, and I'm honest about this. Like I've said this a few times, and like I almost like I feel bad. I don't want to say it like my husband isn't good or worthy at all, but I almost feel like the way that we struggled, like being financially dependent on each other, like we stayed together through some times where we might not have stayed together if I like had the ability to like up and leave. And since it wasn't downright abuse taking place, I don't regret that, and I'm glad that, like, we had to stay together sometimes, and I know some people are gonna think that's like, so effed up, like, I get it, and, there were times when we separated, when things got so bad that we're like, "We can't reside together anymore." One time, it was, like, 13 months of separation, so, not to say that there was never a time and place for that, but, like, I am grateful that, like, I needed to rely on my husband, that formed this kind of bond that, like, having to rely on somebody and them being dependent, like, or not being dependent, being dependable, creates a certain kind of bond. And I know somebody's gonna take that the wrong way and be like, that's kind of some kind of like trauma attachment or something like that. But it's not. I'm just saying, I think that is where like people are coming from when they're talking about traditional roles and like men needing women, and a woman's place ideally is like in the home or whatever. Like I think, like, there's a reason why stereotypes are stereotypes often, but that's not to say, like, across the board, everybody needs to live life like that. Just look at people in other countries that are struggling to just get something to eat, etc. Depression is a luxury threshold moment said. Well, I think I understand the sentiment where you're coming from, but I also know what it's like to feel really hopeless and depressed. And I think that I wouldn't consider mushrooms drugs. But and I mean this like I'm not being sarcastic threshold, but I'm sincerely glad you yourself don't know what it's like to be sincerely depressed because if you did, you wouldn't be saying that. And like I'm glad for you, but like I hope you don't ever have to experience it firsthand yourself in order to get some compassion. Rusty Rivers, how are you doing tonight? Most important thing is trust. So simple. Tommy, that is true. I will give you that. Yes. If you don't have trust in any relationship, right? Any relationship, business, friendship, romantic relationship, trust is a huge foundation. Trust and respect. People say like you love a man by respecting him, and it's just like, yes, it goes both ways. We all want that. Um, okay, Threshold said, I mean, anybody, hold on. Okay, HK, I want to, Threshold said this, and it's like, I don't know if you guys can see it because it was deleted. I mean, anybody that's got moderators in their chat deserves pushback, and this woman obviously did not vet her moderators properly, but they never do. Um, there are so many trolls and people that like might get annoyed. I've had people, the regulars like Jesus that like had or maybe like I don't know if your comments were actually deleted at one point. It happens sometimes that people might be a little hasty in their judgment, but it's not because of you being a bad commentator. It's because of all the trolls that are like an influx of negativity and off-topic weird subjects. Women are great. I'm 71 and still want to have a wife, Gary said. Oh, that's sweet, Gary. Jesus, men don't open up because usually weaponize their moment of weakness. The weaponization usually hurts more than the hurt a man feels when he initially opened up. Yeah, I understand that, Jesus. That's what I was saying. Like, I didn't think women did that to men when they were vulnerable, but I heard so many men say that same thing that I'm like, wow, women are nasty. I know they do that to themselves, each other in friendships. So I guess it does make sense that they would do that to a romantic partner, right? I have to laugh at it like a nervous laughter. Tommy, I understand what you're saying. The good wives hide the good men. My life is completely over. I might as well just throw it all away, Tim said. Well, you know what I'm going to say, Tim. I don't know if you live in a place where the leaves change. I don't know how interested you are in the Charlie Kirk stuff, but I still am watching a lot of stuff about him. I didn't want to make like a fourth video in a row with it in the title, but like it's something that his wife Erica said about him was that he loved nature and that is where he felt a connection with God, which yeah, I think I hope that for everybody. I hope that for Tim. I hope that for everybody watching me ever right now and ever that like you can find connections with with God in nature and do that often, And like that's what I feel like we have on our 1 acre. Like I was just like picking up leaves. There's a lot of leaves falling. They're like red, green, yellow, like really, really pretty fall colors, right? And I was having fun collecting seeds, and I just spent a few hours doing things like that, like kind of piddling around. 'Cause my garden isn't enjoying this either. Sunflower seeds. Second, I was like, I need to like do something productive, and I'm like, this is productive. This is like what I need to be doing right now. My house was clean. I made food. I made dinner last night. I made dinner tonight. Like, like what else do I need to do? And I think that's one reason why I am as happy as I am because years ago, and I really feel for people that don't have a yard. Like we had apartments for most of our marriage, and it was like, or half of it, we like really wanted a yard, and that was like such a big deal to get a yard, And then we upgraded to acreage, and thank you, Tommy. Um, Luis, oh, I don't know if I have an accent. People say I don't have one because I don't have a typical like Southern Kentucky accent, but I've been told that I have a Midwestern accent. Which I guess makes sense because I did spend most of my childhood in Southern Indiana, which is technically the Midwest. Gary said, I wish I would have had a wife all these years. Well, I'm sorry to hear you had that regret, Gary. I've heard a lot of people echo that sentiment that weren't married. And Marriage is tough, it's really hard. Every married person, everybody that's married long term says that. I've said that a lot. Like marriage is hard. It is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the weak. And it is so hard. But it is worth it with the right person. Tim said, I guess I'm going to be single forever. It seems like a lot of people feel like that. I'm sorry to hear that. Tommy, it's hard. Social media is destroying marriages. It's so crazy. Yes, Tommy, I agree with you. Social media is warping people's brains, especially women with the dopamine rushes. And it's like, it was so this study came out recently that's like, did you guys hear like shorter men have more success in relationships? Supposedly they're better lovers in bed, men under 5'9", and they get divorced significantly less. It's like 29% less divorced, something like that. And like basically saying like, they're like, oh, short kings can do it better or whatever. And it was just funny to me. Um, I I didn't have tons of friends. I always had like a few close girlfriends though. And like I just don't this phenomenon of like women wanting tall men. I'm sure it was always a thing. I'm sure some women always like favored taller men. But I don't know what is that? Is that something that happened because of social media or it's just a swiping on a dating app and like they decided that these stats have to like fit the certain criteria and it's so weird to me. But yeah, I often say that, Tommy, social media has warped women's brains, and adult media has done the same thing to men's and women. And once again, I like discredited people talking about like the romance novels, like the dirty, muddy romance novels women read. Like this is a thing that a lot of women do online. They read these smutty romance novels. I'm like, no, they're not. Or, they do, but it's not like some big phenomenon. No, actually, it does seem to be like a big like women that are lacking intimacy, maybe. Huh. I mean, even women that get intimacy, it's like the woman's pleasure is often not. Our society is just not like we don't revolve around that often. Not that no man does, but you know what I'm trying to say. Um, we as moderators are not professional doctors, nor can give medical advice except if you have a headache, take two Tylenol. Um, Well, let's HK, I get where you're coming from, but let's just try not to, just in case that person's like, who are you talking about? Oh, that person. Okay. Just in case somebody is going through something, let's try not to call them names like douchey. And I totally have said douche before, so, but you know what I mean? Like, let's try not to call people names, even if they were being trollish, okay? Let's just shoot for that. Tall women are good to go, though, Justin. What did Justin say? Short women have temper. Justin, what do you consider short? Because I'm like 5'3". That's the average American height. But yeah, short people get shit on so much, like super short people. My sister's short, and it's like she's a sweet person too. She never was like an instigator in any way. It's like people like zero in on like she's like a sick dog or something like, you're short. Still to this day, she has grown adults like she doesn't know she's short. Like, do you guys hear my dog? She's having a little dream or a nightmare. Yeah, we need to keep the channel as professional and respectful as possible for Lydia's sake. Tony said, "Aw, I appreciate you guys so much." And anytime somebody complains about that, I'm like, I I'm appreciative to have moderators and people that want to like step in and talk to me when I get on here. Like I hope I stick up good enough for you guys. Tim, I can't go anywhere without seeing people happy. I understand what that's like, and I understand that sucks. It's going on a hike in nature. You might not see anybody. I remember when I was pregnant with our first baby, it was technically single. Like, we were already broken up when I found out I was pregnant, and I went through most of the pregnancy alone. And oh my gosh, like seeing like every first of all, every single advertisement, every single anything with a woman involving a baby, like the baby magazines and the advertisements, and then go on Babies R Us, like every single woman is a big old honking wedding ring on her finger. And there was just like constant messages of like what's supposed to happen when you're pregnant. And I remember feeling like so isolated then. Why do you look like your puppy died? Oh, I don't know why, Greg. It's not a man woman thing. It's human nature. Just as many men would exploit their advantages if they had the same opportunities. So don't kid yourself. Oh, I don't disagree with you. If my wife reads smut, does that mean I'm not intimate enough? LOL. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to point the finger at anybody, but I'm just saying that's where my mind goes. If a woman is getting intimate on a regular basis with a man and she still indulges in that, that to me makes me feel like maybe she's not getting enough out of it. But like, who knows? Like, some people are just, different. It's okay, HK. If I can give any advice to the men, don't be scared to ask your girl what she likes, Tommy said. Exactly. That is very good advice. Um, People that are just like willing, and I don't think that anybody's best time ever getting laid was a one night stand. And like, people that are together and they're like, oh, like we have a great intimate relationship, like that happened over time, right? Like you have to get to know each other. That's one reason why casual sex is so stupid. And to like encourage kids to have possible life altering, lifelong diseases for like a few minutes, like some. And I know there's like this joke that I always thought it was funny too, like sex is like pizza, even when it's bad, it's good. It's like so funny to me. Um, but like that's not true with as a woman, like across the board. I think that's more true for like men across, let's be real. But like yeah, but we need to stop like encouraging people to be casual, in my opinion. What would you think of that, Lucky, if I said I don't trust conservative women? Is that what you said, Fendi? Oh well, I whatever your opinion is after all of your life experiences, I would just like believe you. I wouldn't have much to think about that other than you must have a lot of bad experiences with conservative people in your past. And I'm sorry for that. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Oh, Greg, good luck with that, Gary. They aren't going to be keen on giving up their advantages. Oh, another helper review. Or if your wife reads smut, that means she's wild, dude. Yeah, I don't mean to come off as a prude, but I don't know. Like, and another thing that like all these YouTubers keep advertising like the toys. I don't like that. I've unsubscribed from some people. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm scrolling through my feed and then I have to see a picture of you holding up a vibrator in my feed. Like, no, it's YouTube. Get off of there here with that. I'm I don't mean to be like TMI, but I'm just like I don't know. It's not that like I think nobody should enjoy that stuff. I think that like there's a time and a place and like it's cool to be more open with it, but like I don't think anybody should ever be like just scrolling through their feed and see like somebody smiling holding up that adult toy. And I'm kind of tired of it. And I almost wonder if some women aren't leaning too much on those things and maybe that's part of the problem because they are so drastically different. And I'm not better, different in a better way at all. What could you compare it to? It's like using a microwave and if you show your face in Kansas City, your name will become an urban legend. What does that mean, Waffle? I'm sure it's some kind of insult. I don't get it though. I had to look back at the chat activity. I know what you meant now, HK. Yes, I did agree with him, Lydia. Exactly, Tommy said. Dr. Ruth, thumbs up, Jeffrey. That's funny. I can see that I'm far too cynical and jaded for this stream. Oh, Greg. Well, we need people of all dissenting opinions here. I like variety. I think I heard a fart. That's gross. That's funny. If I ever farted, I would tell you guys about it. Ask my husband. I'm like, I just farted. Like I would tell on myself. If there was ever an audible toot, I guarantee you. Love is much more important than cheap sex. I know I said that word already a few times. Yes, I totally agree, Gary, for sure. I think a lot of people, oh, it makes me so sad to say this, but it's just true. People haven't experienced real love. All they've experienced is that cheap sex. And then so they don't know what they're missing out on. I was caught off guard when she mentioned douche, and I remember you said it and wanted to explain to Lydia that person was being one, Mr. Carey said. AJ Hardy, YouTube Kids is worse. Oh, yeah. Known by the blessed. Oh my God. Tim Watkins, how are you doing tonight, Jay Hardy? I guess that I'll be staring at the four walls, Tim said. I was thinking about making a Discord, Shaw to the T. I don't know if you're in here anymore, but Shaw to the T asked me a while ago to do that. And I was thinking, like, that would be, now that we have, like, I don't know. I thought, like, maybe it would be nice to have people able to. Jay Hardy, somebody said, I heard a fart. That's so gross. And I'm like, no, I would tell on myself. Ask my husband. That's what I do. I'm like, oh, I farted. He's always like, I didn't hear it. Like, I don't smell it. Like, stop telling on yourself. Oh, this is when you know it's the end of the stream, when I'm being like too TMI. I don't believe that, Gary. You need both love and sex, Tommy said. I think what he's saying is you don't have good sex without love, though, right? Maybe I'm putting words in Gary's mouth, but the point is like you need both. Or ideally, you have both. Right? Hi, Tabish. How are you? I believe Tommy is onto something here, HK said. So I already am done with like the topic of the stream, but I was basically ranting at the first few minutes, which I think it was a pretty good little rant for a rant. And anybody that can commiserate with the fact that like these people that have large incomes, which I am sincerely glad because I don't want to push that away. I do believe in the law of attraction heavily. And so I'm not going to be envious or jealous of people that have more than me because I don't want to like push away excess from myself and my family, right? But it's still, and maybe that's part of what makes me mad because it's like I don't want to have bad feelings against you just because you're like I feel like a peon compared to you, but like people that have excess telling the rest of us that like we don't have enough savings, you don't have enough assets. And a few YouTubers I watch made similar sentiments in their recent, like in the same day, they uploaded videos that was like, oh, like basically you're a loser if you don't have more. Never mind the wage stagnation and inflation. And, the fact that you have to work what, like 200 hours a week to have like the same the same go in life as somebody in like the freaking 60s with the same job. Oh, hey Zeus, if you're still here, I hope you sleep well and I hope you have a great night. Lucky is Dr. Ruth, Tommy said. That's so funny. Oh, Mr. Carey, HK, you're welcome. I had to recheck and seriously, you're welcome. What's going on? What am I having to recheck? Or what are you hoping that I read, guys? I don't believe that. I already read that. I'm doing well tonight, Tibish. Thank you for asking. Everybody does fart, Gary. Yes, you're right. Everybody farts. That's something us women need to like learn. I held it in way too many times because and that's why one day my husband's like, it's been like 10 years. I've never like heard it or I'm sorry. I need to stop. I need to stop. When I re-listen to this, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck, Lydia? Why are you talking about that? I gotta go and be depressed for the rest of my life. Tim, look at if you're still on here, my community post, or like this guy is barefoot and he shows the electricity he's using. I don't know what kind of reader it is. Is it an EMF reader? He's using this reader that shows wattage, and it's like with his barefoot on the ground, he is like electricity is flowing through him from the ground. Like I really like I don't want to discount. I don't ever want to like be like that person was earlier trying to like discredit depression. Like I'm sure there are people in third world countries that are depressed. I'm absolutely sure of it. They're like literally sitting around addicted to things, doing the same things that a lot of people do here in states of depression, and like unable to work and like move ahead in life because of it. I don't understand that mentality that I do to a certain extent because I myself, when I'm struggling, when I'm having a bad day, I remind myself of that picture of the little starving boy with the vulture near him. And you're just like hoping that he passes away before the vulture starts eating him. And like I think of that to shame myself when I'm like, your life really isn't that bad. The kid with the vulture and near him waiting for him to pass, like, so I do get it, like, trust me, I do, but at the same time, like, that's not gonna help anybody that is struggling. There are gonna be people that struggle in first world countries, and like just telling them like, oh, this is what the whole point of my live stream was at the beginning, more in a financial sort of way, but the whole like just pull yourself up by the bootstraps straps mentality isn't helping anybody, especially when you're saying that to the people that literally make your world go round, with the exception of like medical professionals. And a lot of medical professionals, they're not doing as well as people think they are because their medical school insanely much. And then, like, if they have their own practice, the insurance for it can be insane. They're fighting insurance companies just to get paid for their work. Um, but yeah, I hope some things get better, Tim. I'm always gonna hope things get better for you. Fendi, hey, don't forget those Blue Chew ads. Cosmic Angel, my experience of woman gets mad when you last an hour and don't. Oh, I don't really, Cosmic Angel? I don't know if you're being with the right women. And like, are you talking about like they want you to do that at the end? Like I don't know about that, especially casually. And just drove up the canyon with a skid steer and a dump trailer in the dark in the rain, so I lived. Are you saying that like that was a precarious situation, Jay? That sounds kind of scary. Thank you, Tabish. I'm struggling because I'm 32, Mutai said. Yeah, I think most people are struggling, and that's why, like, I don't wanna come off as, like, the victim mentality. It's kinda like the opposite. It's like, yeah, we are what makes everything in society run, and even, stay-at-home parents. I'm a stay-at-home parent. I don't work anymore. It's still, like, you're, like, taking care of kids. You're helping to, take care of the future of society. If you're working any job, like, most thankless, low-paying jobs are the most important ones as far as I'm concerned. I'm so tired of this, like, we need to all look up to and this is what makes the CEOs and the corporations able to even pay their executives and CEOs so ungodly amount of money. I'm sorry, I can't talk right. Such ungodly amounts of money because there's this mentality that, like, they earned it. They deserve all this oodles of money, but it's like, there's men literally dying doing their labor for them, and like they'll never be in the position where they're putting their bodies and lives at risk like that, but yet they're the ones that are given the most credit. And it's like, homie, oh my god, that's not me. I don't care how much money you have as long as you work as hard as me. I live on God's provision and I never want for anything, Chosen said. That's really nice. Hello from Israel. Oh, I hope you're doing well. Hello there in Israel. Hello from Palestine. Really? That is interesting. How are you? I already asked Tibish how you were doing. Mood times, I already got done talking about the subject, like the first 20 minutes or so. There was two YouTubers that I follow that made videos with similar sentiments today, basically saying Americans in general, like 60% of us have no savings and we need to do better. Like we just need to work harder. And I just thought it was so funny that I was like scrolling through, seeing these things. And then I saw this post, the shorts, where this woman was talking about working a 16-hour day. It was from home jobs, but still, she worked 16 hours in a day. And then somebody made a comment, and this was like, and I was like sitting there thinking about like how it just bothers me that these people with YouTube channels, like that know, like these are smart men that know about wage stagnation. They know about inflation. They know that 80% of the money circulating in our economy was printed at the first few years of this decade. They know all of these things, but they'll still say that the problem is that we aren't working hard enough if we don't have any savings. Because I'm in that boat. We don't have any savings right now. Ideally, you would have savings, and good for you if you do. That should be the goal. You should have a goal of putting money back every single month. So many people can't do that. And it's because of the greed. All these men that look at, or not all of them, not all of them, of some of these men that look at us and are like, you're not working hard enough. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's like, what? What? Like these people, like us, like we have to work these jobs. Like somebody has to do it. And that, like, anybody working full time and not able to, live on their own, live independently, it's just like that's what we should be pointing the finger at. That really irked me. Then I saw the chick with the 16-hour workday, and there was this comment where this person said, my grandpa did that, and he did retire early. He retired in his 40s because he had a major stroke and had to spend 10 years of his life learning how to walk and talk again. And I was just like, oh my gosh, see, that's just like, and I've heard that so much lately, it's like this dichotomy. It's like you get it from both ends against the middle. People need to work harder. It's just like it's simple. You work harder because that's how a lot of these people did get ahead, and they're not completely wrong. Like, yes, you should work harder and live below your means. But um oh my god, I totally lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. I need to get out of here. There's this two trains of thought. You need to work harder, and then hustle culture is bad. It is killing us, and that's true. They're both true. So what do you do? Especially if you're a young person starting out. Like, what are you supposed to do? Mood times. Oh, I just read you saying that it's saying, do you ever see those Blue Chew ads? Sometimes they be on YouTube or social media. Yes, I have, Fendi. I know what you're talking about. Oh, I've seen some of the weirdest ads too. I've seen some weird stuff. And like for a while there, they like, they're so like, they were putting tons of dating ads on, like, my husband's feed, like, they know that's a married man, you know? And, like, for a while, like, I was getting, like, the weirdest I have screenshots of some of it. A lot of it was, like, PDF file ty like, do you guys get ads for the weird games? It's like, who's developing these weird apps with the weirdest crap going on in them? Yeah, Fendi. Jack Morgan was one of the people that said that in a video, and I really like Jack and a lot of his content, and like I was saying, like a lot of his content is good, and I do agree with that. Like, you just need to work harder and live below your means and try to go debt free, right? Like, that's all really good advice, especially for young people. It's going to be a lot harder for a lot of people to follow. But he was saying people that like don't have like people were in a food pantry line with brand new cars, like how ridiculous that was, kind of. And I agree with him on that, but he's, like, basically saying, like, "You just need to work harder, just work harder." And then Ox Talks was another guy who I don't know what his exact profession is. I believe he's a real estate attorney, and he was, like, really saying it. Jack was just kinda, like, beating around the bush, and he does do that a lot, like, all you have to do is work harder. Or if you're a woman, just get a man and he'll take care of you. But if you're a woman and you get a man and he takes care of you, then shame on you for that. He's one of those guys. But anyways, I'm gonna make a video on that again. And it's not so much because I'm like, "Oh, these red pill talking points just, like, bother me so much." It's like seeing them repeated, I feel like, there needs to be some kind of pushback, like, somebody else needs to put out content that's like, "Well, what about this?" And, like, from my perspective, there are quite a few females that I've seen that are, like, married women speaking out about these things, but I can't really think of, like, any married, stay-at-home moms. It's really interesting. There's a lot of married women out there, like, speaking about, 4B type stuff, encouraging women not to get married and settle down, and I don't like that, I don't agree with that. "You're married, bitch." What the hell? You're married. And like I understand, like I said, marriage is hard. Marriage is not for everybody. Haven't had a credit card in years. Not that it wouldn't get used, Pyramid said. Good for you. That is a very good way to be credit card free. Tommy Melendez, be thankful for what you have. Lots of people are living off their credit cards and just hide it well. Almost everybody has been single for all my life. Almost everybody has someone. I've been single for all my life, so it's technically not going to hurt if I'm that either. Tim said. Hmm. Hey, how come they can call us names but we can't fire? Because I have a monetized channel and I just like I mean I would even if my channel wasn't monetized, I just don't want to call people names, unless it's like beyond help, somebody that's like came at me with their own YouTube channel. And that's more fire for fire. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's almost like shooting somehow it's like punching down when you're like the creator and you or your mods are saying something negative to people in the chat. People who are on their own businesses work constantly. If you ever met somebody that runs a company, that's all they do is work. Matt, yeah, when it comes to smaller companies, I'm talking about like the big corporations with the CEOs that make like $100 million a year. But you are absolutely right. And I did mention that earlier. I had a small business I did for like 7 years making weighted blankets. And like, that's what I said. It is so hard to be the producer, the marketing department, the shipping department, be everything, customer service and be profitable and keep that up. And a lot of us have done that and we'd rather work a 9 to 5, and have the security and not have the threat of getting sued too. I was always worried that somebody would it only happened one time where like a blanket did bust open and the mom was like, "Can I have the what is it? Like the MDF sheet, the whatever manufacturing specifications of the polypropylene pellets that I put inside of them, just in case like they swallowed them, the doctor wanted it or whatever." But anyways, even with a product like that, and I was just always worried somebody might use it incorrectly, like fold it up and put it on somebody and like incapacitate them. And it's like nice to me to know that I'm not like making products that like some people just prefer to work 9 to 5, and we need those people. Okay, Lucky, you're blaming the men, but isn't the saying every great man is supporting by a woman who is charged? Hold on. What do you think I'm blaming men on? I'm talking about the two YouTubers that both happen to be men. Yeah, I've been married for 15 years. The no-no people made the apps, Fendi said. Oh, that does make sense because it seems like they're a little keen on like destroying everything moral in society for us, right? They're definitely at the head of the adult porn. Effective action and goals. Start the morning off with intentions. Right off with intentions. That's very good advice, Jay Hardy. Very good advice. Especially, I need to do more written affirmations personally myself. Fendi, which video is it? Is it a new one he just put out? Oh, Fendi, I should know the exact title. It was within the last day or two. It was the women titled, it wasn't the one titled women dot 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 LOL. It wasn't that. I told my husband about that. I'm like, he uploaded this video called Women LOL. And he's like, really? Like literally? And I sent him a screenshot. I'm like, yeah, literally. It's funny to me. And that's what like he's the one that's like, women that aren't hypergamous, what are you doing? What are you doing if you're not living off of a man? Like men will take care of you. Even if you're homeless, a man will take care of you. Just let him take care of you. He's literally said those things word for word. I made a video about it. And it's like women aren't allowed to struggle because we could always have a man take care of us. And then in his women dot dot LOL, he plays a clip of a woman talking about like, wanting to be taken care of or being taken care of by a man. And he's like, oh, there you go. Oh, gold digger type stuff. And it's like, you just like can't. And he's with a woman. I'm sure he's great to her. Whatever. It's none of my business. But like, you just can't win with a lot of these men. That commentate on women in adult relationships. Hey everyone, love you all. If anyone has any prayer requests, let me know. We can come together and speak to Christ. Roll call, GC said. That's very nice, roll call. Please pray for Anna Yoder. She is not feeling well. She's recovering from a surgery, and she was in here earlier and said she didn't feel well. So that would be nice. Oh, thank you, Tommy. That's very sweet. Are you new here, Tommy? Good night, Tim. I'm always hoping you feel better, Tim. Ken Flo can. The dialect throws me off out there. I'm just some dork in Louisiana. I want a 9 to 5 again. Are you looking for work, Ken? I'm sorry to hear that. John, marriage is not for everybody. Oh, definitely not. And I do say that a lot, and I'm sorry I didn't say it. Like, I feel like I say it most of the time I talk about marriage because I don't ever want to come off as that, especially because talking about my own marriage, I don't ever want to come off as like, in the Bible, I'm not Christian, but a lot of people here are. The Bible, it doesn't push for everybody to be married. It says like it's better to like not be married than to be with a quarrelsome woman. That's one line, right? One scripture and it says, like, basically marriage is for people that, like, want that intimate relationship with another human being. Sometimes some people don't want that ongoing relationship it's fine. Jay Hardy said, "I'm still working on bids tonight." Gosh, it's getting late. I know you're behind us in time, but it's still late. You need to quit the work week at some point, Jay. Tim, Carrie, I guess since I'm by myself, Tim said to Carrie. Callie, hi, how are you doing? Oh, thank you, Ken. For real, he said that. Fendi, yeah, well, look at the women, LOL. He didn't call her gold digger. I shouldn't have said gold digger, but he's basically being like, oh yeah, look, here's another woman that wants to be taken care of by a man. It's like you literally like encourage that and say that's what women should do. But then when a woman's sitting there talking about it, it's like, oh, here we go again. And but I do like most of his content. Of course, like I said earlier, it's human nature to like point out the stuff that you don't like. I like Jack and his content, and I really like the messages he pushes about like buckle down. And like I said, the thing about the person that had a grandpa that had a stroke. I think if you can work extra hard and it's short term, if you can do it for like 3 or 6 months to get yourself ahead, like that is good advice. But like nobody should be working like 16-hour days, like, long term, that's just inhumane. Uh, oh, Danny, I'm married 15 years, and I do think I need to sign off of here sometime soon. Ken said, "I just want to a 9 to 5 sometimes because I pretty much work by myself most of the time." Yeah, well, I hope you get that soon. I'm assuming you're probably putting in apps, places. I know that it's hard, especially in some areas. Gosh, I can always get a job easily, but that's because I get really crappy jobs nobody else wants, like working at Amazon and stuff. Or, jobs with high turnover rate. Supposed to leave your parents and cling to your wife like a fabric softener sheet, Mr. Tommy, maybe marriage isn't for everyone. I believe having a companion will smooth your soul. It definitely refines you, if you do it right. I keep bringing them up because it's just like something I think about a lot. But Charlie Kirk and his wife Erica, there's some great content of them together, and they are a great example were of a good marriage where I felt like they were really like refining each other. They'd only been married 4 years. Roommates, a marriage can turn into a roommate situation, Ida said. Yes, that's true. Even so, I think a lot of people would rather have a roommate. Like if it's a good companionship situation, I think they'd rather have that than not. But I do understand where you're coming from. It's probably not ideal to be that way. Hi, Maya from Zach. Hi, Maya. Hi, Admiral. Anarchy Television. We weren't put on this earth to work all our lives and pay taxes. I completely agree with you. And we lived off grid for 11 months. I think I'm gonna close it out on this. So anybody that's coming in here now, I'm sorry if I haven't answered you. Fendi, you worked at Amazon warehouse. This shit sucks since like high school in there. Oh my gosh, yeah, I totally, yeah. I'll never forget when I started there. I'm like, this is great. No, this isn't a wig. I'm like, why aren't people happier here? I'm making like $18 an hour walking through the door. I'm just walking around. Oh my gosh, within a week, I'm like, okay, now I know why like people I have never been in a workplace where so many people were so obviously psychologically tormented. Like their souls were sucked out of their bodies. But yeah, we lived off grid for 11 and a half months. And like the way I see it, hey Billy, how are you? Um, no matter what, like surviving is hard. I think being homeless and living in a tent, that must be incredibly difficult and hard. Just being that kind of bum, what a lot of people would call them, that's hard. Living off grid is hard. Living off the land is hard. A lot of people like romanticize it and idealize it. A lot of people do know how hard it is, but especially with all the YouTubers that put like six figures into their homesteads and make it look a lot easier than it really is to get set up. Like it life is hard no matter what. You're gonna be working a full-time job, that's hard. You're gonna be living off the land, it's full-time work too, right? And so it is all about balance, and that's one reason we chose to move to a cheaper area of living so we could have like more land. And yeah, I think that that is the most important. Whatever your goals are, whatever fulfills you. And a lot of people do want that. And especially when you get a lot of perennials, like, we've got a lot of fruit trees and fruit bushes now and, that are really starting to take off. We planted them, like, almost 2 years ago, and because we were negligent, it's not any other reason why, really. But, we put them in the ground in September a few years ago, and before winter is the best time, according to some people, to plant trees because the root system will develop better, will concentrate on the roots first instead of everything that's above the ground, which makes sense, right? Especially in a windy area, that's, like, ideal. Jay Hardy said, "In 25 years, all the time too much." Oh, I'm sorry, is 25 years of all the time too much? Haha, my friends come over to Rose. That's theory, a theory Bond joke. So funny to me how that came. My girl's in a huge city and I'm in a small town, Ken said. I want to go back and forth. That's nice that you can experience both. And where we are, I like it because we're like in between Louisville and Lexington, like two of the best cities in the planet, if you ask me. Not that far from Bowling Green, which is the third largest city in Kentucky. I love Bowling Green. And so even though I really prefer living out in the country, like it is, I always do prefer to live like an hour or two away from a city, right? Okay, I'm going to go now. Everybody's saying good night. I believe in good versus evil. Like, I believe in evil forces. I don't really believe in a being known as a devil. I don't really believe that a fallen angel is a devil and resides somewhere known as hell. No. But I do believe in evil, and I will talk about the devil sometimes as it's just like me talking about evil. Oh, thank you, Billy Clancy. Jay Hardy, thank you. Thank you. You grew up in Lexington? Oh, good for you. App Kegley, Gegley, App Kegley, Kegley. I like that. You can take some of your fruit trees and barter with some of your neighbors. Yes. Like last year, we didn't really get any fruit, but this year we got some pears, and I was proud of that. But yeah, if things ever really do get really bad, like they could very well get, right? Like, oh, things are bad. Oh, jobs are bad or people aren't making enough money, car repossessions are an all-time high, like, but it's all of our fault for not working hard enough, right? Yeah, like people, I mean, gold and silver is great, but like people will be bartering with like seeds and food, right? Canned goods and fruit. And anyways, I love you guys. I really appreciate the new people in here. Sorry, Billy, I don't think you were in here that long. Hopefully I see you soon. I'm gonna try to go live a lot this week, so I'm not gonna like schedule anything right now, but I hope to see you all soon. Love you. Good night.